And we are live. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES dot television.tv. And we are here with you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. And it's always our delight and our pleasure to be here with you in the bright, shining lights of the East Coast. And speaking of the East Coast, oh boy, the weather the last 3 days has been terrible, overcast, runny nose sort of skies. And then overnight, it was just wonderful. As they say in the Midwest, it was good sleeping weather. Open up windows a little bit, low around 50, and you're just there like this. Oh my gosh, let the cool breeze wash over me. And now we have some sunny skies and 50 degrees right now at 9 a.m. And it's going to be a beautiful day. Not a day to sit inside and ponder the outskirts of humanity. Although we might. As you can see, we have our Discord server up and running. Voice chat is active. You can chat with us live in real time. You can also visit our Discord server, and here is the address. I'll put it in there for you now in chat. Watch the transcription of this live broadcast. Everything that's being said is being captioned in real time. It's really quite wonderful. So in other news, our very good friend, Lucky O'Connell, is 11 years old today. Now, Lucky O'Connell is a David Bowles Blogs dog author who also just happens to be a dog. And Lucky has been with us for a long time. He helps Tom and Marianne O'Connell review movies. Every holiday, he sends out a little picture of himself doing something fun. And something quite amazing and delightful. And everyone loves Lucky. And before him, we all loved Skippy O'Connell, who has done some wonderful things. Now, I just noticed as part of this birthday celebration, look at all those plushies. And a birthday cake with candles, well, that's just delightful. And when I first looked at his lovely hat, I thought it was a pause button. Like, please, Lucky, don't get any older than you already are. Just stay right there. And then I realized it's not a pause button. It's actually 11. And 11 for how many years he has been alive. And we are delightful to celebrate Lucky O'Connell being part of this world. In other news, hey, what's going on with the Ukraine, Russia? It's an interesting and really disturbing war. And the more you think about it, the only way out, the only way that this is going to end is with the total annihilation of the Russian army. If Putin can claim any sort of success, any sort of win against the fake Nazis that he is accusing of taking over Ukraine, he'll be back. He needs to be completely and totally humiliated, to stay in his lane, and not bother other sovereign countries. And Russia is admitting they've lost thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers. However, some people celebrate in that, meaning, hey, Ukraine's doing really great. They're killing all the Russian guys. And that, excuse me, anything else gives me the most cause for concern. Because when you lose all your soldiers, and you are losing the war, people tend to get desperate. And desperate men do dangerous things, and they hurt a lot of people. Do you need a lot of soldiers to launch a nuclear weapon? To launch a chemical attack? Well, if that's all you have left in your arsenal because all your guys are dead, That's pretty much the only option you have left to you, is to take up terroristic arms and fling them in desperation. And reading some of the analysis, I realized people are saying the only real way for this to be won is for Ukraine to actually win and crush Russia, and for Putin to feel the pressure that he has to get out. That people around him are not going to tolerate him anymore, and that he is vulnerable. And when that starts to happen, maybe then, he'll do the right thing. And just leave. And pretend like nothing happened. That's the best way out to me. Oh, we visited Ukraine, killed a few people, women and children, took some photographs, now we're going back home. It was a nice vacation. See, my lights are not on, so I'm going to put up this screen, leave my mic on, turn on my lights. Sometimes they turn on well, and sometimes they don't. It's Friday, and even lights can protest. Some of the lights are bright, and some of the lights don't want to be bright, but then you coerce them on the Be Right Back screen, and then they fall in line. Let there be lights, and there are lights. So I think that's the only way out of this Ukraine thing, is for Ukraine to win. And now that Russia is pulling out of the West part of Ukraine and going to put all of their money and resources in trying to win parts of the East, it can't happen. Ukraine needs to go for the kill now and knock them out. Also in the news today, have you heard about Zuck Bucks? This is, I think, was this the second or third attempt for Facebook, Meta, to try to create some sort of crypto coin? A crypto coin that no one will want, by the way. You might have to be able to spend it in the metaverse. But really, who's asking for a Zuck Buck? Wants a Zuck Buck? And it just seems to remind me that people who are successful and who have a lot of money are not usually very self-aware. And I'm very fortunate I don't have that problem. I have no money, I have no success, I am quite aware of all of my failures. I am a monster. I've admitted that several times. But someone like Zuck, who is surrounded by yes people, yes men and women, they're not going to tell him no. He's paying for their lives. So he has these wild, crazy ideas that places him at the center of attention because of his massive ego and his want for more money. And he just faces humiliation after humiliation. He doesn't read the room. He doesn't sense that the best thing for Meta, the best thing for him, is for him to fade away. Let other people become the face of Meta. Not the white-faced android who testifies in front of Congress and goes surfing on a surfboard thing. Electric surfboard. That's not the look. That's not the feel you want for an inclusive community like Meta. So let's see what else is going on in the news. It's been a wild and rocky ride. This long COVID thing. Have you heard about COVID? Have you heard about long COVID? I mean, it's just never going to ever really leave us. A friend of mine was asking, okay, so we keep doing this. When are we going to be done with COVID? And I think the answer is never, because it's just going to always be here. And if we're lucky, we'll get a yearly shot with our flu shot that should cover the latest COVID variations. But even with the second boosters and more people getting vaccinated, New York City, which is one of the highest vaccinated cities in the world, last week reported 1,500 new cases of COVID in New York City. Now, luckily, people are not getting as sick or as dying or as hospitalized, but it's still there. It's affecting them. There's the promise of long COVID in these infections. And people who teach at universities in New York City know in the last 2 weeks, student absences and students testing positive for COVID have gone up drastically. And these 1,500 new infections in New York City alone are centered around young people. Doesn't necessarily mean kids, like high school kids, college kids, people who are out and about and mingling with each other. They're getting sick. And the public health people are really concerned that if that sickness and infection, it's 9 a.m., I'm getting hotboxed by my neighbor. It's a feature of Bowls.tv every day at 9 o'clock. Is that this Omicron variant, BA2, is going to reach the older population that are highly susceptible to COVID infections, and then you're going to start all over again with this pandemic. But what do? People don't want to wear masks. They're tired. They want to mingle. They're done with taking shots. They don't want to mess with the shot anymore. Nobody wants a third or fourth booster. They just want to forget the whole thing ever happened and move on. Which is not going to work. So here's an interesting Twitter account that I stumbled upon yesterday called Long COVID NYC. And this is from a couple of weeks ago. The U.S. this is before the 1,500 infections that were announced last week. Announced this week that happened last week. We're always a week behind. The U.S. is basically implementing a eugenics program at this point, saying it's up to the most vulnerable and high-risk people to protect themselves from COVID on their own. Because the wealthy, privileged, healthy people don't want to wear masks anymore. Policymaker donors don't want masks anymore. And we see that happening in Washington, D.C. with Joe Biden. He doesn't want masks. He doesn't want people around him wearing masks. So everybody takes their mask off, and now they all have a super spreader event. And they're all infected with COVID now. A little bit gross. And now everybody's, what are we going to do about the president? How do we protect the president from getting COVID? Well, Nancy Pelosi has COVID, Merrick Garland has COVID, and COVID, and COVID, and COVID, and COVID. I mean, it's just stupidity. But they are worried about optics. They want to look scared. They want to look like they're defeating COVID. And so they take their mask off around the president, who's an old, ratchety, feeble old man. Nancy Pelosi's there taking pictures with him, with her mask on her wrist. Not on her mouth, not on her face, on her wrist. And she's now COVID positive. My music just stopped. I have to write down what time it happened. 58:50. Yesterday, the music stopped at 58:53. So we are seeing a pattern here. I've asked Slip.Stream about these stoppages of music. They haven't responded yet, but they will. They always do. I just have to remember now that I have identified this bug is to always forward to a new song before I reach the 58-minute milestone. And so this Twitter thread continues. It's shocking. U.S. public health advocacy community is largely quiet as we continue on with this eugenics plan. And we talk about eugenics here a lot because it has a lot to do with the disabled community and people who want to purify other people by sterilizing them or removing them from society so we can have a pure society, these people believe, and we get rid of the degenerates and the disabled and the people who are unable to care for themselves. We get rid of them, the rest of society will be better. That's the idea. That's the thinking behind the eugenics movement. And so this person is saying, hey, it's eugenics. The people who don't want to wear masks, the people who have vaccines, we don't care about the vulnerable people who are not allowed to have the vaccine because of health concerns. Let them die. Herd mentality. Survival of the fittest. Which decomposes any sort of idea of morality. We should have massive protests in the streets about the ending of masking, which endangers the lives of millions and millions of Americans. We need more direct action. Continuing. The trick is, the folks who are most impacted are at high risk for severe COVID-19. And so it's not safe to gather together in person in a protest. But it's said a lot about our allies and how quiet they are as millions of our lives are endangered. So these are all very interesting and slightly terrifying warnings from the most vulnerable around us. And mainstream America doesn't really appear to care. And it's a sad thing. And talking about the psychology of COVID is super interesting. People wrongly believe, from the American Psychological Association, people wrongly believe their friends will protect them from COVID-19. Isn't that curious? People may feel less vulnerable and take fewer safety precautions about COVID-19 when they are with, or even just think about their friends instead of acquaintances or strangers. According to research published by the American Psychological Association. During the 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, many people have become accustomed to spending time with their closest social circle, which may have unintended consequences. Friends and family can provide a sense of comfort, but it's irrational and dangerous to believe they will protect you from being infected by COVID-19. And I see that over and over again. I've been so careful. I've been so quiet. I had a little get-together last week with my family, and I came back, and my cousin was COVID-19, and now so am I. The experiments found that individuals engaged in fewer health protection behaviors when the COVID-19 infection risk was associated with close friendships, including situations of people thought of a friend while reading COVID-19 related news, believed a friend was the source of a prior COVID-19 infection, or noted a friend's presence while dining at an indoor restaurant under such circumstances. Participants decided to purchase fewer health protection items, such as masks and hand sanitizers, and perceived less likelihood of infection, even when the infection risk could stem from strangers and crowds. And I know people who do believe that. Oh, well, my family's clean. We wouldn't get the COVID. I only hang out with healthy people. They don't have COVID. Now, one good thing about living in a big city like New York City is, sure, people are friendly, you have friends, you have social circles, but in the end, when it comes really down to it, nobody trusts anybody about anything. You always sort of assume that people aren't telling you the absolute truth because they know people can't handle the absolute truth. So they fib a little bit or they white lie a little bit, thinking they're doing a good thing when they're not. And when you're self-aware and you realize that, you say, oh boy, you can't trust anybody these days. Somebody tells you they're vaccinated, look for their vaccine card, don't believe them. The friend shield was more prominent among people who identified themselves as conservatives than those who said they were liberals, arguably because conservatives tend to have clearer boundaries between people whom they hold as close friends and those they regard as distant others. Now, that's probably true. They like tight circles, defined circles. As I've said on this live stream before, which sometimes becomes the Human Being Podcast, is if I know you, you're my friend. And some people are very offended by that. Well, that's not what a friend is. A friend is, and then they list all these things, requirements that friends are, and what friends do. And I say, sure, I'll have all of that and more. In an experiment with 495 participants, one group was asked to write down memories of a close friend while the other group wrote about distant acquaintances. All participants then read a news article stating that unhealthy snacks can increase risks of more severe COVID-19 infection symptoms, while the use of hand sanitizers, face masks, and disinfecting wipes can reduce the likelihood of infection. The participants then chose either a junk food item, candy bars or chips, or a healthy protection product like a face mask, hand sanitizer, or disinfecting wipes from an online store. Participants who wrote about a close friend were more likely to pick up junk food over a health protection product than those who wrote about a distant acquaintance. The next experiment comprised 109 participants who had been previously infected with COVID-19, and they knew the source of their infection. Participants infected by friends or family members were less likely to think they would get infected again than those previously infected by acquaintances or strangers. The final experiment divided 301 participants into 3 groups, whose members were told to imagine they were going to a coffee shop, either alone, with a friend, or with an acquaintance. Then they were asked about how crowded they expected the coffee shop to be and about their political orientation. Conservatives expected the coffee shop to be less crowded and thus estimated a lower likelihood of COVID-19 if they were going with a friend rather than an acquaintance or on their own. There was no similar association for liberals. So, based on these findings, the authors state that COVID-19 public health campaigns should caution against individuals' tendency to engage in less protective behaviors when the infection risk is associated with friends and family, even if only for tangential health campaigns. Should also consider tailoring messages to different audiences, such as conservatives or liberals. It's a fascinating study and sort of worrisome because we think we know what's going on, but in reality, we really have no clue what's happening around us. And on that lovely note, we're going to take a very brief blood pressure break, returning momentarily. And we are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Wonderful to be here. It's certainly a thrill. And now it's time, that time of day, where we play a little chess and we learn the intricacies of how terrible we are as a player of the game. And we play right here on Chessable as we try to figure out these chess puzzles on a timed basis. Unlike the Chess.com puzzle of the day, where you can take as much time as you want to figure it out or lose the game. So here we go. White to play. This is sacrificing a queen. Need to make the chessboard just a little bit bigger. So what are we seeing? What are we seeing? Queen is here, rook is here, bishop is here, all the important players. And this pawn looks sort of important in some ways. But what is the best move to make? Now they want a queen sacrifice, which usually happens right away. So I don't like the move, but I just got to move it and see what they say. That's not the move. They want me to move there. Okay, so I'm forced now to make the correct move. And I have done. Oh, and they take. And now I got to figure out what to do, and I believe I take. And that's the puzzle. 50% right. Terrible. We'll keep trying. These are only 2-move puzzles. You'd think they'd be very simple. It means I'm trying to see too much that's going on that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm being risky without a cause. Now this seems very obvious. Queen here, queen here. In check. We have the gun loaded and ready to fire a double shot. They have a queen and a rook. But since this is about queen sacrifices, I guess I'd better. I'm doing it. Terrible. So, I understand why that's the right move. Terrific move. Take the rook, put the king in check. The bishop is going to take the queen, but that's okay. So now they're going to make me make the right move. Boom. Yes, they take. And then I go down here, and I win the game. So it's still 50%. Not terrific. But we're trying. It's not our best, but maybe if we play the black pieces, we'll do a little bit better. Now, when there are less pieces on the board, I actually do better. End games, I'm better. Middle games are tough, because that's where the game is really usually lost, is in the middle game. So I'm black. Here's my queen, here's my rook, here's my bishop, and there's the opposing king. So, I would prefer to move this bishop here and put the king in check. But I know they don't want that. They want me to put my queen here to put the king in check. Oh my gosh, still wrong. I'm going to go all the way down. I thought I was going to be protected by this bishop here, right? Here. But they don't want that. They want me all the way down here where I have no protection. So I have to make the move. They're not going to let me continue. So, okay, they took my king. Now what do I do? Exactly. This to here, it puts the king in check, but I don't see how that's very interesting. Because the queen can just block. King can just move over there, but I don't see another move that it could be. So I think that's what it has to be, unless it's here to here. That's what it is. Okay. Because then the king can't escape. The king can't go here because this bishop is eyeing that. Okay, I get it. Win the game. All right, 50% again. So of 2 moves, we're getting 1 right. Terrible. Doesn't make any sense. Solve. I will solve. White to play. Here's my queen. There's a very dangerous rook eyeing my queen. My bishop. My rook. So I think the safest move, which doesn't mean anything, is for me to move here, put the king in check. But this is a 2-move puzzle, so that's the problem. And one of them has to be a queen sacrifice, which makes me think they want me to go this way. Oh, I waited too long, and I had the right. I sort of had the right move. Well, I didn't have the right move. I was going to move here. And they wanted me to move here to put the king in check. Okay, should have done it. I will do now. Boom, boom. Okay. And then I guess this way. Okay. 50%. I'm losing the first one, and the second one I'm getting. Painful. Okay, so here we go. Black to play. Ooh, I don't have very much. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so here's my queen, my bishop, my rook, my other bishop, and there's the person I'm going after. I think it's going to be that. And the king can't take because of this. So the rook will take. And then this rook will go down. Okay, that's what's going on. Mine was fine. I'm telling you, I worked it out. It was 2 moves. Oh boy, I tell you. I had it all. It was mine worked just fine. You saw me work it out. 50%. I'm not quitting until I get 100%. These are 2-move puzzles. It can't be that hard. But it is hard. White to play. Here's my 2 rooks. And they want a queen sacrifice. And right here just seems to be the move. And then my queen will be taken. So it's a queen sacrifice. That's what they want. So I better do. Yes, yes. Okay, good. So I'm doing it. And then I think it's here to here. And is it over? Yes, because the king cannot move here because of this rook. And nothing can take. The king can't move there because the rook. And the king can't take the rook because the bishop is protecting. So I think I'm going to finally get 100%. And I'm basking in my glory. Because it doesn't last long. And I have my new pillow here and I can glory bask for hours at a time, if I am so inclined. I will do. 100%. Whew. Only took us 5 puzzles to get there. Now this is what we call quitting while you're ahead. I'm quitting Chessable for the day, but I am going to chess.com for my puzzle of the day. Let's see if I can reload this if it would give me the current puzzle. What day is today? Today, see, we're way behind again on our puzzles. Today is Friday. So this is our puzzle. Patience. That tells you it's going to be a lot of moves and take a long time. And as the week goes on, these puzzles are supposed to get significantly harder, which is not good because you saw I was significantly terrible this morning. Black to move. Okay, so we're playing black. And we have to have patience. There's my queen. There's my knight. Oh boy, I'm down. I'm down. In pieces. In crumbling pieces, I'm down. So this is very interesting because this is all about this. Because they're all protecting that king. So if I go here to here, protected by my knight and by my pawn. The rook will take. The pawn will take. The king in check. The queen will take. The knight will take. The king will take. And then I'm just in a lot of trouble. And then I'm in a lot of trouble. But I don't have a lot of options. These 2 pawns are blocked. This pawn is blocked. This pawn is not blocked, but not doing anything. This pawn is open, but would eventually get picked off by this bishop, probably. Patience is the word of the day. This is where I put my head back on my pillow. Can I threaten anything? Probably not. I mean, I can go to here. That's sort of interesting. Because it creates a fork. Which I sort of like. That's pretty good, actually. So the queen would have to move, maybe not very far. But I would then be able to take the rook with my knight, which I find very interesting. That what I'm gonna do. Oh! Are my sound effects? Terrible. try this here. Okay, that was my initial. That's the first thing I said. If you go back and watch, it's the first thing I said to do. And then I said no because everything's going to blow up. But I guess that's what they want. They want to blow it up. So, no. Well, those were my moves. So those I take as not being appropriate. Now, make one more bad move, I'm getting a hint. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's. I don't make the move. Maybe it's that to that. King is in check. Not that interesting, because then they just move. And it would be a bloodbath. I'll try it. That was the right move. Okay. The name of this puzzle is patience. And I'm running out of it. Now what are you going to do, bro? Now you could go here and put the king in check. And the king has nowhere to go. Because the king goes here, the knight gets him. But the problem is this queen would just go here and block. And then I guess we'd have the knight go here, jeopardize the queen, but the queen would just take. That doesn't make any sense. But I don't see anything else, so I better do it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now what? I guess you could go here to here, put the king in check. Protected by the knight. This knight can't touch anything. Then the queen moves again, and then she gets taken. I guess. I'll try that. Okay, now we take the queen. I think. Yeah, and it has to be with the knight. Because this rook's going to slam. Has to be. Oh, and that's the end of the puzzle. Well, that was sort of exhausting. Yeah, I tell you, these puzzles are humbling. It really makes you think and wonder what's going on in the world. And there's always a way out. Just have patience and don't lose your temper. Learn something new every day. Try to pay attention. And maybe, just maybe, you'll figure it out. And a good ensuing weekend. Now we're taking a break. Back in a moment. And we're back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, BOLES.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, it's interesting trying to be a live streamer because people come and go. They come into your chat, they follow, they leave, they come back. And I guess that some streamers are having trouble with what we call trauma dumping. And it's a real thing where people who are desperate, I guess, or in a bad mood or feeling psychologically frail, they go into somebody's stream and start talking about suicide and death and abuse, and the streamer's trying to play a game or have a conversation about football. And the emotional dumper comes in and dumps, vomits, emotional wreckage all over everyone in chat. And because people who are in chat and who are engaged in chat tend to be kind and nice people, they often turn to that person in distress and try to offer help. And the streamer's talking about one thing and chat's dealing with this trauma dumping. And I understand it's an issue. And it's not just in streaming, it's in real life. You might be at school, in a group, at work. And it always seems there's one person who will come into the group and say, blah. They will dump on you and everybody else, and then expect you to respond to them and offer help. And if you don't, then you have a cold heart and you're inconsiderate and you don't care about people. It's really very manipulative. So here's a story of a streamer who prided himself on the soft, comfy vibe of his streams, playing games. Someone came in and trauma dumped about a breakup from an abusive partner who had cheated on them. And of course, my community is very sweet, so they started responding, and it just kept going and going. The emotional purge, which took place in the text chat of his stream, went on for 11 minutes and put Toph, the streamer, in a bad mood. The very state of mind he'd been hoping to escape. He'd been in a similar relationship to the one described, and although he says the conversation didn't trigger him, he felt defeated and canceled his stream for the day. And I know the feeling. When we first started this stream, we had very open chat, not verified. And there were people who came into our chat and said really awful things. And not just about me, but about children, about other people. And it was just sort of just gross. And it's like, why are you here? You don't even know me. I don't know you. Why are you dumping that stuff here? So that's when you ban people and you set up verification methods. So there is a price for admission that doesn't cost people anything but time and believability. So Toph is one of many Twitch streamers worried about the issue of trauma dumping, the act of offloading emotional problems without invitation. Now that's interesting, because if you're streaming and you're talking about something that's triggering to people and you say, hey, share your story in chat, well, then you're inviting someone to share their story and they're going to trauma dump, maybe. And maybe that's okay because that's what you want. But for someone just to come in, break down the door, tear down the house, and start talking about a breakup that's destroyed them, why are you here? Nobody invited you. According to content creators on the platform, viewers are increasingly bombarding stream chats and their accompanying discords. Hey, we got Discord going all over here. With their in real life problems, which streamers are often not equipped to deal with. Yeah, streamers are not professional therapists. They're not sociologists, they're not social workers. they can't help you. The issue has become so prevalent that some streamers have started speaking out on Twitter. One influencer even put out a guide to dissuade people from trauma dumping on her streams. Trauma dumping is a problem. It affects streamers at all levels. I had one viewer who just vented every time they were in chat. They never really contributed to the conversation that was going on. They just derailed what was ever happening so they could talk about their problems. Logan recently went viral on Twitter after he tweeted a message to viewers, "Please stop dropping your insanely depressing news into chat." Even this morning, I was watching someone raise money from Ukraine in a charity stream, and someone came in and said, "I'm pregnant. I just found out. Now I'm sad." Everyone else had to stop the conversation and deal with it. No, you don't really have to stop the conversation. You can just not respond to them. Or if you're a moderator, just kick them, ban them. That's off topic. You just can't come in and dump all your garbage in a stream that doesn't belong to you. Hoff said there was a member of the community who kept talking about their dead pet. I asked them kindly to stop and take the conversation private instead. And after one of the streams, they posted a graphic picture of their sickly pet on Discord. Trying to be here for them while making sure everyone else was comfortable and safe, but they immediately got angry at me. They told me I was in the wrong for deleting the picture of the dead dog, and I was heartless, and they left the community after that. Bizarre. Insiders believe the growing problem of trauma dumping stems from a combination of viewers' access to and power over streamers. Now, isn't that interesting? It's a big problem for bigger Twitch streamers because people will pay to have their messages read out. It's called text-to-speech, TTS. And they'll share the minutia of their problems. And I've heard that on these major streams. And the really big streamers who know what they're doing take the money. I think it's like $3 to $5, $10 to do a text-to-speech on these streams and just ignore it. And sometimes they're insulting the streamer. You're ugly, you have a big nose, nobody likes you, you're cheating. And you take the money and don't respond to it. Smart. Let them throw away their money. It's the whole parasocial relationship thing where people view the streamer as their friend when really they're not. The streamer is being paid to listen to whatever you have to say. It's extremely unhealthy. Very true. And sometimes you see that even in teaching, where students, attend a class, they have a close relationship with their classmates and with the teacher, and they want to speak to the teacher after class. Again and again and again and again, trying to get feedback, and what it becomes is some kind of therapy session. And it's not healthy for a student or a teacher. And the teachers who have a lot of experience will just draw the line and say, I really can't help you with that, but do you have a question about your homework? Because there are professional places you can refer people. And if you're teaching at a school and someone says, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, I want to hurt myself, I want to hurt other people, you become then a mandatory reporter, which is a good thing. Then you can say to the student, I can't help you with this, but now because you've told me you want to kill yourself, I have to report this incident to whatever function the university has. And that's a good thing, to be a mandatory reporter. So you don't have to make a value judgment. Let's see, should I report this student? Is this student being serious about killing themselves? What should I do? The decision is taken away from you in that situation. The trauma dumping, the accusations, are referred to an agency within the university that is trained to handle that kind of trauma. And streamers need to have that same sort of philosophy, even though there isn't an official pathway forward for them to refer people in their streams to get help. Meanwhile, smaller creators often fall victim to trauma dumping because their eagerness to build a following outweighs their desire to set healthy boundaries with fans. Plus, they're more accessible since there tends to be less conversation happening on their chats. I think that smaller streamers keep the lines blurred and very gray because they're scared of chasing viewers away. That's true. And when we first started this stream and it was open and anyone could come in and chat, there were a couple of times where people say, I want to tell you a story. And I'm in the middle of telling my story. I'd say, okay. And then they'd say some crazy thing about a dream they had and stepping in alligator poop. And it's like, I'm old. I don't have time for that. I've heard it all before. I don't know why you're coming. I'm a stranger. You don't know me. You don't know who I am. And you're telling me these things. I don't care. While streamers empathize with people who are desperate enough to seek help on a stream, it's concerning that some people take advantage of the situation. It feels like they're trying to get that one-on-one time and block out the rest of the chat. Very interesting. Because which message is more important? The one about the weird thing that happened to you at the store? Or the one where you say you are thinking of killing yourself? Very manipulative. One streamer takes medication for anxiety, so he understands that viewers want to express themselves when they feel down. It's really not a place to feel down in someone else's chat. Go start your own chat and invite people to come and chat with you about your depression. But don't go in someone else's chat and talk to them about your depression when nobody wants to hear it. Still, he thinks normalizing this behavior is bad for both Twitch streamers and viewers alike. If the stream is very silly or just relaxed or something, it's harder to get back on track when somebody brings something so dour to your door. The concern is how trauma dumping could impact viewers who engage in it, as they won't learn to cope with what they're going through. If you're just doing that to strangers, you're not helping you. And you're not helping the person you're talking to, because they're ill-equipped to deal with it, and you're showing that you're ill-equipped to properly display your emotions. That's hard talk. People don't want to hear that, I don't think. My stream isn't just a safe space for the viewer or for me. The safe space is for everyone. That means all of us should feel comfortable there and have a bit of a reprieve from the real world and our problem within it. It's very true. It's very good. Super necessary. And I'm glad the conversation is being had. Well, you know how we feel about Windows 11. A kick in the face is probably too kind a description. Because I thought when I moved from Mac to Windows that Windows 11 was going to be the savior of this stream and of my regular working life, and it's turned out not to be so. Windows 11 is not ready for prime time. Windows 11 has a lot of problems with audio drivers, microphones, amplifiers, mixers. Terrible. So finding this story about Microsoft making video calls creepier in Windows 11 interested me because I feel creepy without a video call. So here's the creepiness of it. Windows 11 is getting a new AI-powered, be careful of that phrase, AI-powered eye contact feature for video calls. But rather than making these calls feel more natural, it actually makes them more creepy. Announced at its recent event on the future of hybrid work, this new feature aims to use artificial intelligence to make it look like your eyes are looking directly at the person that you are video calling. Your eyes belong to you. I think that needs to be the first rule of AI. No one can mess with your eyes. Most webcams, including ones built into laptops, sit above the screen. But when we're on video calls, we're usually looking at the video of the person we're talking to instead of looking directly at the camera. It's true, as a streamer, you have to learn to look at the camera. Hello? Because when you look at your screen, you're not looking at the people. Microsoft's attempts to fix this by adjusting the video caller's pupils so they may face the screen is a bid to make video calls more human. More human by faking your eyes? By using AI to fake where you're really looking? Where you're really not looking? That's insane. But from the results we've seen so far, the effect appears more unnerving than the company intends. And I guess this is an example of how they mess with your pupils. Yeah, it is weird. It looks kind of drugged, sort of high. Frightening. What else is new? Windows 11 is frightening. In the video clip Microsoft showed, a woman, here we go. Let's look at this while we read it. A woman speaks on a video call, and her pupils do indeed make it appear that she's looking at the screen, faking you out. However, there are slight glitches that, even when subtle, make it clear that something isn't quite right. She's a robot, not a real person. It's a classic example of the uncanny valley, which we love talking about here, where an attempt to synthesize an artificial human causes a sense of uneasiness in real humans. And I'm reading that like an android. I don't know why. Often because of imperfections, which tell us what we're looking at is fakery. In fact, the uncanny valley could be more pronounced in more realistic attempts as we subconsciously pick up more minor details, which then increases the impact of the effect, and that's something that appears to have happened here. By trying to make video calls in Windows 11 more human, Microsoft has actually done the opposite. And when you notice the little issues and the big glitches, you're unable to see past the artificiality of it all. The artificiality of it all. Ironically, it seems that these new features are more distracting than if the caller was just not looking at the camera. We hope that new feature will be optional. Don't count on it. The machines can do the work. And the machines are coming for us. And that means it's time for me to take my next blood pressure break. Back in a moment. And we're back live. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. I thank you so much for being here today. We are here usually Monday through Friday, live, semi-live, 9 a.m. Eastern. And as we finish out the week, it's always interesting to have a conversation about things that are unspoken, things that are taboo. And one of the unspoken things in the world is how adjuncts are treated by their universities. Now, it's always very tempting for these universities to try to claim the high road, that they're fair and equitable and that they take care of their people, and they really don't. Being an adjunct today in America is one of the most thankless and rather awful jobs in academia. Adjuncts are undervalued, and this is the title of a book that we're going to talk about next, The Adjunct Underclass: How America's Colleges Betrayed Their Faculty, Their Students, and Their Mission. Adjuncts are not paid appropriately. Adjuncts are taken advantage of. Adjuncts hope to have a life that often they cannot afford to have. The pay for an adjunct is usually very miserly, and there's really no job security, there's no pension, there's no profit participation, no automatic health care. You're not a full-time employee, you're an adjunct. You're a hired hand for work. And 76% of many universities have adjuncts teaching undergraduates. The faculty, most of them, don't want to teach undergraduates. They want to teach graduate students and use them for research opportunities. Now, in the past, you have examples of classic geniuses like Mark Van Doren at Columbia, who enjoyed teaching freshmen. And he would have a freshman symposium every semester, and it was an introduction to literature and the arts. And the students loved him, and he loved the students. You don't find much of that going on today in major universities. Machines can do the work. Adjuncts can do the teaching. And adjuncts serve at the whim of the university and the department. Some universities require you to send in a letter every year to say, I want to teach, as part of the union bargaining. And if you fail to send in the letter, well, then all bets are off. You might teach, you might not teach, but now you've given us a cudgel to wield against you. You're not guaranteed a class, you're not going to guaranteed a certain time of day. Now maybe you can say, oh, I don't want to teach in the morning, I only want to teach in the afternoon. And the university can either accommodate you or tell you to get out. But the more prestigious the university, the more competition you have, and the more selective you cannot be about setting your own schedule. And for many adjuncts trying to get into the field, you wind up teaching at 7:30 in the morning or 7 o'clock at night. Because most of the full-time faculty and adjunct faculty, if they have experience and they don't have any other job, they want to teach at 11 a.m. and be done by 1 p.m. So it's a difficult life to be an adjunct. And I've done a lot of adjunct teaching in many places over the last 30 years. It can be interesting. It can be enjoyable. You become an adjunct for your students. You don't become an adjunct for the university. You become an adjunct for the love of teaching, not for the money. And there's no fame and no glory in being an adjunct. You have the same expectations as a full-time faculty member with none of the benefits. And so I would do it every once in a while just to keep in touch. with the outside world, because as a writer, sometimes you're stuck in a basement, windowless room for hours and hours all by yourself. And sometimes it's good to get out in the world, meet new minds, teach people who are interested in learning something. Not all are. And it can be rewarding. But I know people who have been adjuncts for 25 years at the same university. And there's no recognition. There's no celebration. There's no thankfulness. But there's always the threat in the air that if you don't behave, if you don't act properly, then you're not going to be teaching here anymore. And then you're part of the university in a small way as an adjunct, and you read things from your department. Oh, Sarah's been here for 5 years. Oh, George is celebrating his 10th year's employment as an assistant administrator. Oh, great, great. The department's celebrating. And there are your adjuncts who have been teaching in that department for 25 years and not one word of thankfulness, not one word of appreciation, or even small recognition. Adjuncts are just ignored. You should be thanking us that we allow you to teach here. And then there are unions that are supposed to represent adjuncts, and the unions are terrible. Oh, we get minimums. They don't do anything. And if there's a problem with teaching or something that's being unfair or an inequity, the union doesn't care. The union cares about your dues. The union cares not about you. The union cares about the union. And there are people working in the union who represent people making $58,000 a year as the head of the union at one school. It's like, who are you? You don't even teach. You're just collecting a paycheck that we all pay with dues that we pay to the union. All collective bargaining. It really doesn't make any difference. They claim it does, but in the end it doesn't. There are no real protections. Adjuncts will never be treated the same as full-time faculty. It's just a plain and awful truth. And students don't know that. Students think that adjuncts are regular professors and that they are available and that they're going to be excited and they're going to help do research. We're going to work together. And it's always a shock when you say, look, I'm not full-time faculty. I'm not here every day. I come in, I teach for an hour, and I leave. I can't do those kind of things because I'm not paid for it. I can't be your advisor. I can't help you on a research paper because that means I'm volunteering my time and I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not on salary. I'm on an hourly basis payment system. And usually, if you're lucky and you're an adjunct, you get 2 classes a semester. That seems to be the limit that universities like to impose on adjuncts. And if you're super lucky, you get 1 class after the other and you can go home and you're done. But sometimes you're unlucky. And sometimes the university says, look, if you want 2 classes, you're going to teach at 7:30 in the morning, and your second class is 5 o'clock at night. And then the adjunct says, what am I supposed to do from 9 to 4? I'm not going to go home because it takes me an hour to get here. Not our problem, the university says. Go to the library, have lunch, do some studying, meet students. Some adjuncts get so desperate that they go, if they're lucky enough, they live in a big enough town, they can go to another school, college, university, and teach in that middle part and come back. I'm reminded of an instructor that I knew when I was an adjunct at Rutgers University. And she was very famous and very well known as being a machine, a human machine. And she taught in the English department. And she was an adjunct. And through some special thing she had with the university, they were able to work out that she would be able to teach 4 classes a semester. Now, usually you can only teach two. And every once in a while, if you're lucky, maybe they'll give you a third class on an emergency basis, a contingency basis, but not regularly. So somehow she was able to work out 4 classes a semester, which to me is crazy. Nobody, full-time faculty, nobody teaches 4 classes a semester of introductory English with 50 students in a class, and they're writing term papers. So 50 term papers, midterm, final, 100 pages, 100 midterm essays, papers, per class times 4 classes, 400. And they're each what? 10 pages each? 1,000 pages to read and grade, and she would read and grade it all. So she was this machine, and the university, in my opinion, at that time, a long time ago, was taking advantage of her. And she was willfully part of it because she said, this is my job. I don't have any other job. I need the money. So I teach 4 classes of English a semester. And I'm not full-time. I have no benefits. I can barely pay my rent. I am grateful to the department for taking care of me. And I'm thinking, you're here, you have a PhD, you're teaching 4 classes, and they won't give you a full-time slot on the faculty. And yes, she was a little odd, and yes, she was sort of strange to talk to in the lunchroom. And if you happened to sit in her seat in the lunchroom by mistake, which happened to me once, she will come up to you and say, get out of my seat, you're in my spot. Which is very weird at a university faculty lunchroom. Which then begins a conversation like, oh, are you a regular here? Why, yes, I teach 4 classes a semester. Get out of my table. Because I guess she would use her lunch hour to grade papers. She was always grading something. And she was frightened of the sun, and she would use a parasol. And you just couldn't help this feeling that this was a desperate person who had been traumatized by her experience of trying to teach for 20 years 4 classes a semester and trying to make ends meet and not making ends meet. So it is a dirty little secret that the adjuncts do all the hard teaching while the full-time faculty concentrates on research and messing around intellectually with their graduate students. And some adjuncts are starting to fight back, saying, look, I don't do that. I'm not volunteering my time. If you want me to advise this student, if you want me to go to this event, the university can pay me. And very quickly you're told, no, don't do it. We're not paying you for that. Go home, adjunct. So the adjunct underclass is this terrific book. And here's how it starts, the preface. This is how you kill a profession. How did we discard the idea of a college faculty? That is, how did we decide to systematically eliminate an entire class of professionals whom we once entrusted to conduct the final distillation of our children into capable, confident adults? How did we come to decide that college teachers didn't deserve job security, didn't deserve health insurance, didn't deserve to make more than convenience store clerks? It wasn't hard, really. We discarded college faculty in the same way that we discarded medical general practitioners, through providing insane rewards to specialists and leaving most care in the hands of paraprofessionals. And that's what I said. The specialists, in this case, are the full-time faculty. Paraprofessionals are the adjuncts. I go to my heart doctor. He doesn't see me anymore. his physician's assistant sees me, which is sort of lucky because I really don't have any serious problems. I'm just on maintenance medication. But the thing is, well, if you want to see the doctor, it's going to be about, 4-hour wait. But if you want to see the physician's assistant, she'll see you right now. What do you want to do? It's a choice without a choice. And the book continues. We discarded college faculty in the same way we discarded cab drivers. By leveling the profession and allowing anyone to participate as long as they had a minimum credential and didn't need much money. We discarded college faculty in the same way that we discarded magazine and newspaper writers. By relabeling the work content and its workers content providers. We discharged college faculty in the same way we discarded local auto mechanics. By making all the systems and regulations so sophisticated that they now require an army of technicians and specialized equipment. We discarded college faculty in the same way that we discarded bookkeepers. By finally letting women do it, after decades of declaring that impossible. And then immediately reducing the status of the work once it became evident that women could, in fact, do it well. So this is a terrific book. It's hard-hitting. If you're a parent with a college-age student, a high school student, you need to read this book to know what's going on. So maybe you'll fight for the better education of your kids. Because these big universities have millions and billions of dollars in their trust. And they don't want to pay their teachers or their graduate students. So here are some of the chapter topics of this wonderful book. What the brochures don't tell you, the permanent and the contingent, bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, building the contingent workforce, the adjuncts. If we don't pay teachers, why is my tuition so high? Well, isn't that interesting? Students at many major East Coast universities, Ivy League private schools, paying $60,000 a semester for their college education. Probably $500,000 by the time they're done with an undergraduate degree at a 4-year institution. And I can tell you right now, through direct experience, that money is not going to the adjunct faculty. Maybe it's going to the permanent faculty. It's definitely going into the administrative pockets. It's not going to the people who are teaching your children. Other chapters include the comforts of those inside the castle, the administrators, the hapless bystanders, and what are we going to do about this? And that's how a year ago, I read an article about this woman who had been an adjunct at a university for, I think, 20 years, teaching the same class for 20 years. She said something inadvertently that the university found offensive, and they fired her. And she said, "What do you mean you fired me? I've been here 20 years. You don't have a contract. You're a day worker," pretty much is what they said. "We don't owe you anything." And she was out on her street, and nobody cared. Students didn't care, university didn't care. And even at major universities, where you've been teaching for 25 years, they can change your schedule, they can change what classes you teach, even if they don't know anything about the subject. You serve at the whim of dictators. And the sad part about it is, even if you are protected by a union, if the university wants to get rid of you, even in the best union contracts, all they have to do is pay you your fee, your teaching fee for a semester, and then they throw you the hell out. That's how they break the contract. That's how they break the union rule. Because the rule is, at least I guess people think, well, I'm protected for a semester. So if I get fired, I'll be paid for that semester, and then I could go find another adjunct appointment and hope to survive. And unfortunately, it really doesn't work out that way. So I guess some schools who have, union protection, where they pay you a little something as they kick you out the door, and they can get rid of you for any reason. They don't have to have a reason. They say, we don't want to use you anymore. We don't like you. You're out. Here's some money. Spend it wisely and never come back. Now, they can't do that to a tenured professor. A tenured professor is protected. A tenured professor can speak his or her mind. A tenured professor has a process of protection for freedom of speech, freedom of thought. You can say the wrong thing, you can say the bad thing, and they're not going to throw you out. They're not going to take away your classes because they decide they don't like you. Adjuncts do not have that protection in the university. And the university will play along. They'll say, we're equitable, we're fair to everybody, we are a kumbaya school. But they're not. They don't mean any of it. And what a life. And is that who you want teaching your children? Are these people who are being threatened and brought around by a ring in their nose? If you behave, I'm going to pull it out and you're going to bleed to death? Is that the kind of intellectual capacity you want being taught to your college-age kids? And the adjuncts try to stand up, try to come together, try to form a barrier. But people are desperate. People want to get in the door. There's always something else. Always somebody else. And many adjuncts think they're irreplaceable. Oh, they can't possibly teach that class without me. Oh, it's impossible. Well, just try. Say the wrong thing, behave the wrong way, displease the wrong person, and you'll see they get fine. They get along fine without you. Who needs you? You're just an adjunct. You're not really a part of the faculty. You have a temporary email address, temporary access to the library. And I can pull it from you at any time I like. So you live, you work in terror. That's the life of the adjunct teacher. And I tell you, it's a harrowing one. Where semester to semester, you wonder, is the appointment going to come through or fall apart? There's no guarantee. And there's no guarantee in real life, but compared to a full-time faculty member who sets their own schedule, makes their own demands, the adjunct is nothing but a beggar on the street. And so I thank you for being here with me this week on Bowls.tv, live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, where we try to wrestle with the idea of what it means to be a human, what it means to live a life of conundrums and puzzles, and how we try to overcome despair with joy. So I wish you a good day, good evening. I wish you a happy nap. And when we shall awaken again, may your heart be filled with joy and your soul overflowing with contentedness. If you have any questions or comments about this live stream, please visit me online, boles.com. You can follow me on Twitch at David Bowles and do a super follow. There are benefits for it, perks, if you will. You can find me on Facebook, BOLES. Instagram is Bowles Books. YouTube, video on demand, Bowles.live. And on TikTok, we are Bowles TV. You can email me any questions you might have at david@bowles.tv. And our music just stopped again, 5852. Writing all this down. And you can join our Discord server, where you can have some fun with us in chat. You can voice chat with us, text chat with us. It's all kinds of text and chat fun. Here is the link to our Discord server in case you would like to join us. It is discord.gg/BOLES. So you can find me there and say hi. So until next time, Be well. Take care of yourself. Say hello for me. And I'll see you Monday.